Alright guys, welcome back. Um, so in this video, I want to try and look at game over, as well as if we have time, I also want to look at some scoring. Okay. Um, so in between videos, if you're wondering why the game looks a little bit different, I just went and I toned down the quality simply because I'm recording. So I just want to make sure that there's not a whole lot of FPS drop, etc. So I went over here in project settings and I went in quality and I reduced it to very low. This is also helpful if you're trying to build for mobile platforms and such, because with the high shadows and everything, that's really it can be very taxing on your hardware. So yeah, that's why it looks a little bit bland, and I've changed around the camera a little bit, so I like it a little bit better this way. But there's no other major changes. All right, so I'm going to go over here onto my scripts, okay, and I want to talk about game over, right? So whenever we hit an obstacle, we want to finish the game. So what I can do is I can start by creating, let's see, a UI button, okay, and as soon as you create a UI element, you can see that you get a canvas and an event system with it, and in your scene you can see where is it, you can see where the button is, like so. Now at the moment it's all the way at the bottom of your scene, okay. I don't know why it's at the bottom, but anyway, so I'm gonna go over here on my button. I'm going to center it, and if I hit 0, 0, 0, and well, let's leave that at 160. Now you can see that the button is in the middle. Most probably when you make your button, it's going to be in the middle. But anyways, if it's not, then you can simply zero out the X, Y, and Z position. And you can come over here and you can click on this to center the anchor points. And you can, if you hold down Shift and you click on this, then you can perfectly center it. And then you can click on, you can reset it to 0, 0, 0 and pretty much have your button over here. So I want this to be my restart button, so I can rename it by going in here on my text and I can call it restart, okay? And maybe we can change the size of this button a little bit, so let's make it maybe 250 by, I don't know, 75. That doesn't look so bad. And let's go ahead and duplicate this. Let's duplicate it, and I'm going to call this my main menu button. Okay, and let's go ahead and in our scene view, let's find our main menu button. It's a pain. Okay, so let's just move our main menu like so, and we can go ahead and change the text here. Call it main menu. Alright, so let's just switch over and see how this looks. This looks okay. The text in both of them looks a little bit small, so let's bump it up. So 30 in both of them would be nice. Alright, so now we've got our buttons, right? If I hit play now, then the buttons are there. Obviously, that's not what I want. Yeah, so as you can see, the buttons are there, they don't do anything. So what we're going to do is, by default, we're going to disable them. And before I get any further, what I want to do is I want to create in my canvas, I want to create a panel. Okay, since these belong together, I want to put them together in one panel. Now, as soon as I use the panel, you can see that there is a bit of a white translucent background. So do I want to leave that there, or yeah, so let's leave that there, and I'm just gonna tone it down to black. Okay, so whenever our game over menu shows up, it's gonna have like a black tint to it, and I'm gonna rename this panel as game over menu. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take these two buttons and drag it down and make it a child of our game over menu. So I hope everything is pretty straightforward so far. We made these two buttons, we positioned them how we wanted, we changed the text inside them, and then we just made a panel and we made these two buttons a child of that panel. Why are we doing this? Simply because what we want to do is we want to be able to toggle this menu on and off, right? Whenever our car hits an obstacle, we want to show the user this game over menu. And whenever the person hits restart or main menu, we want to pretty much well, remove this. Okay, so while I'm here, let's go ahead and just make it a little bit prettier as well. Now, ideally, you'd be using your own graphic assets, but since we're just kind of fooling around and seeing how things are done, I'm going to be using just the standard ones, alright? So I'm not doing anything fancy here. So I'm going to add a UI text element just so we can tell the user that the game has in fact finished. So here there's the text. You can probably see it somewhere like so. Let me just kind of fix this. Okay, so I want to move this text like so. Let's call it game over. Let's put it in all caps lock, game over, and let's make it bigger. Let's make it 45. And you notice how when I made the size too big, it just entirely disappeared. It's because if I hit my little this situation here, it means that I put the size too big and it couldn't fit into the container, so it pretty much just disappeared. So I can either get it to fit by changing this from here, or I can come over here on my text over here. I can go and change the width and the height like so. So if I were to make the width 200 and the height 200, once again I would be able to see the game over situation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of fool around with it like so, and let's switch over and see what it looks like. Since the background is going to be a black tint, let's try using maybe the white color for our game over. So yeah, I think this looks okay. And let's do one thing. So I'm going to go ahead and make it quite big. And okay, so I've pretty much made it this wide, and we can set where exactly we want it to be. I also want my text to be bold, so instead of font style normal, I'll make it bold. And over here, what I'll do is I'll hit center so that it centers inside its container, and I'll also hit this one so that it's also centered well, horizontally and vertically. So it looks something like this, and I think this looks a lot better. Eventually, maybe we can also put in a score text here as well to show the user what score they got. But I think for now, let's just leave it like so. And I think this looks nice. Yeah. Okay, so we've got our game over menu looking pretty nice. I want to go ahead and change this text to game over text. So game over text. Okay. So now we want to think about how we can enable this from the code. I'm going to go ahead and disable the entire thing. Now you can probably just guess immediately. So wherever we're detecting collisions, right, in our car movement script, once again, ignore the comments and such. But if you remember, every time our car collided with a game object called obstacle, we were calling the game over function. And all the game over function was doing right now was it was just debugging. We can remove that. And it was setting game over to true. So this is probably a really good time to show our menu, right? You would imagine that when the game over function is called, it's a pretty good time to show our menu. So the way we can do this is if I go all the way to the top of my script, what I can say is, let's see. I can say public game object game over menu. Okay, so if I save it now, and since I've made it public, I should be able to drag and drop my menu onto the script, right? So if I go over here onto my taxi, I can find my car movement script, and as soon as it's done updating the changes, you can see over here that there is an empty game object. It's awaiting, looking for a game object. So I can go ahead and I can drag and drop my game over menu and just throw it in here now. Now we've got access to our game over menu from within our player, which is good because now we can turn it on and off as we so desire. So if I go over here in my game over, all I need to do is I can do game over menu dot set active, and I can set it to true. And this command is pretty straightforward. All it's doing is it's taking this game object and it's setting it active. So previously it was inactive, and now it's going to get set active. So let's save and let's try and see what it looks like. Now if we've done everything right, when our game ends, we should see our menu. So there is no menu right now, which is perfect. And let's try and bump into a car. So this looks like a car on the way. And boom, this looks nice. Of course, our buttons don't do anything, but and I also really like how the tinted looks. I think it looks really pretty now. Okay. So we've got the situation going, and now we need to think about how we can start wiring up these buttons. Okay. Um, so how do I want to do this? Let me think. In many cases, and in especially big cases, usually what you would have is you would have something similar to a road manager, except you would have something like a game manager, and a game manager would be tracking your scores and all of your UI elements and such, like game over menus, pause menus, and such. But at the moment, I think I'm going to go with a slightly nitty-gritty temporary solution, and we'll pretty much be taking care of our code over here in our car movement script as well. So what I want to do is over here in our car movement script, let's write a function called public void on restart. So let's write a function to determine what's going to happen when the restart button is hit. Okay. In fact, let's do one thing. Let's be kind of in between, okay, and let's move this into our road manager. Even though this has nothing to do with the road manager, I don't want the game over text to be part of, let me think. Okay, in fact, let's just go ahead and put it here, and I'll explain later why I decided to go here. Okay, so we have a public public void on restart function, and what I want to show you is if I go back here in my canvas, if I enable my game over menu for a second, and if I go in my restart button, okay, and it's just called button right now, so let me maybe rename it to restart button. Okay, so this is restart button. Okay, so over here, if you scroll down here, you'll notice that there is a on-click situation here, and it says that the list is empty, right? So you can hit the plus button here, and you can drag and drop an object in here. And once you do that, so in this case, let's drag and drop our taxi, because the car movement script is on our taxi. And inside the car movement script, we just wrote a function called onRestart, and we want to use this function. We want to call this function when the user hits this restart button. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag and drop my taxi here, and when I do that, it basically allows me to see all the components which are attached onto this game object. So it has a transform, it has a rigid body, it has a box collider, and therefore it also has a car movement script. And inside my car movement script, it shows me all of the public methods, and you can see that on restart function is right here. So as you can see, that on restart function which we wrote is basically right here. So by dragging and dropping our taxi, it allowed us to cycle through all the components and also pick any of the functions on any of those components, and that's what we did. What that means is that when I click on the button now, it's going to trigger the on restart function over here. Now just to test this, let me show you. If I just do debug.log and restart kit, let's just say that, and if I save my game now, and if I close my menu, so my laptop is acting a little bit funny. So if I hit the run, and let's try to die really quickly, boom. And now when I hit restart, let me open up my console. So as you can see, there it is. It says restarted, right? If I hit it again, it's going to show it to me again. All right, so it seems to be working. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this, and this is where we can pretty much restart the level. Now, an easy way of restarting the level is this little line of code here, okay, conveniently placed. And basically it uses a scene manager. So in order for you to get rid of this error, what you can do is you need to import this. So it is something like, let's see, using Unity engine.scene management, I believe, I'm not sure. Yeah, so this pretty much takes care of our error that we were getting before. So what you're doing is, it's pretty much, if you try to read it out loud, it's calling a scene manager. So once again, my laptop is acting a little bit funny. Alright, so, okay. So, sorry about that, guys. My laptop seems to be acting really funny. Okay, yeah, so over here on my restart, when you hit the restart button, you're basically saying you want to load the scene, and you over here you need to pretty much put the name of the scene. Now you can directly put a string, but in case you don't know the name of the scene or something like that, just a quick and easy way of doing that is scene manager.getActiveScene. So it gets the active scene which we are in currently, and .name just provides a string. Okay, so this is a quick way of pretty much setting up a restarting your scene. So if I save it here now, if my computer allows me to, and if I go back over here, and if I hit the play button, then we can see what happens. Okay, so my laptop doesn't seem to be cooperating. As you can see, it's losing its mind. So I will let you. I'll go ahead and end this video here, and I will let you try this on your own. And if we've done everything all right, then it should work as expected. Okay, so I think that I'll have to quit this video here, and the restart button should be working just fine. And I will see you in the next video.